It's great to be talking to you all. Been invited by Tim Nelson to come in to the office here in Manchester and to say hello to all you wonderful Hope for Justice people. It really is great for us. And I'm sitting here with Marion, my wife. Marion and I, right at the beginning of Hope for Justice, and she needs to tell you the first part because she was right there at the very beginning and before. So Marion, over to you.
Thank you. Well, do you know, it's such a privilege. I can't believe I'm talking to all you folk all over the globe, and it's amazing. I can't believe all the things that Hope for Justice have achieved and will achieve in the future. I'll tell you my little story because I was in a meeting. I was a trustee of something in the UK called Spring Harvest. You probably don't know it, but it was a kind of big conference thing that happened every Easter. And I was down south England, to have a meeting with the leadership team and the trustees. And it was an all-day meeting and actually could get quite boring. But in the afternoon, a guy called Steve Chalk, which you may have heard of, he stood up and he showed a 2-minute video of human trafficking of young girls, 12, 13, 14, African girls being trafficked into the UK. And I sat there as a nearly 60-year-old granny and I thought, I can't believe this. I didn't know this went on. This is terrible. And my eldest granddaughter was 14 at the time, and I do remember thinking, if that was my granddaughter, I'd do something. And as quick as a flash, I'm sure it was God, said to me, well, they are somebody's granddaughters, so why don't you do something? So that was where it all began for me, and I flew back to Manchester, came off the plane, and Rob would tell you I was completely disoriented because I knew I'd got to do something. I had no idea what.
That's true.
So that was 2005, and then in 2006, I went out to India to see the sort of, if you like, human trafficking in the raw. And I came back thinking I've got to do something in England. And so managed to organise with the help of an organisation called Stop the Traffic, who'd started a bit before that, only just. And we did a tour around England, and the first place was Manchester Town Hall, and there was this young guy called Ben Cooley who offered to stage manage, and that was how he got involved, really. But then 2008 we ended up doing something called The Stand, and by then there was a group of about 10 of us. Tim was there, quite a few others. It was very exciting. We got together, we planned it, it was crazy, we didn't have the money. And on November the 8th, 2008, we saw 6,000 people come into the National Exhibition Centre, it was called,
a very large place.
Huge place in the Midlands of England. And that actually was the beginning of Hope for Justice. And every time I come into the office, I think, I can't believe that happened. Did that really happen? And now I'm quite a bit older than 60, but I'm still seriously passionate to see slavery finish, to see an end to human trafficking. And I've talked enough now because I think Rob needs to speak.
No. You actually could go on because in a sense you were right there before the whole thing started. But do you remember when we actually went to, we rocked up outside this great big conference centre in Birmingham,
Yes.
and we just came in our little car and we sat outside and we saw all the great big lorries and trucks with all the equipment, the sound equipment and everything. And we sat there and said, my gosh, if this doesn't go, where is the collateral? Where is the money to pay the £250,000 budget? And you and I looked at one another and said, probably our house. But the amazing thing is, because, you know, as we believe in God, that we believe this was God provided all the money for that budget. And we had a great event. And from that moment, we embarked on this journey of saying no more slaves. We want to see people set free. And as Marion said, it was a small group of people. Tim Nelson was very much there at the beginning, very much part of all that happened from the word go. And we worked together. And do you remember how with Ben and Debbie Cooley, they actually came to us and said, do you think we're mad thinking about a large event? And all the way along the line, it's been people working together, hasn't it? It's been people working together, and some actually standing at the front and taking more of a lead, but every other person getting involved. And I'll never forget the early journey, because the early idea was, hey, we could break into massage parlors and set people free, and got this kind of vision of hammering on the doors and rushing in and grabbing people and taking them out. But it didn't take us very long to realize that that wasn't going to happen in this country. And I think it was actually Ben and the rest of us as well got a lot of advice from the International Justice Mission, because by then we'd reckoned we're really here to raise awareness. But it was through being challenged by the International Justice Mission and others that actually we can't stop at raising awareness. We must actually set people free. We must rescue traffic victims. We must get to grips with this problem of slavery. And that's really where it all started. And the vision then became setting people free and bringing the perpetrators to justice. Why was it called Hope for Justice? Well, justice was the obvious word. It could have been freedom, but it wasn't just justice for the victims of trafficking. It was justice for the perpetrators, bringing them to justice. And the word, why we use the word hope, was because there was a very much a big national initiative that was called Hope. And it'd been going on for 2 years, and as far as we knew, it would go on for another year or two. And we actually wanted to be part of the whole scene. We didn't just want to do our own thing. And so we introduced the word hope as well. And so the term Hope for Justice became what we live by. And every single one of you listening to this, watching this, is playing such a significant part. As everybody that we had to start with, you remember we started in a little office in Manchester. Yeah. There was Ben rocked up, there was one young lady called Naomi, and then we were desperately trying to help. And this tiny little office was full of all the stuff that came from that big event in Birmingham. And little by little, things began to happen. We also took advice from ex-senior police. And some of the ex-senior police said, look, you can't go rampaging into these places and setting people free. You need to work with the police. And so as the years went on, we began not only to work with the police, but to have ex-police as part of our group and part of our team. And they became investigators, investigating the need. And so, do you know, as I was thinking about doing this short film and talking to you, I was searching for an illustration, and fairly quickly actually I had quite a striking picture of a tug of war. And because to start with I thought about relay, and I thought, you know, we're the co-founders, if you like. We were there at the beginning, and so the relay picture, it gets a bit tired, doesn't it? And also the relay thing, although you run together for a time, often what happens is obviously the person that's handed over the baton drops back very quickly. But the picture that came to me was of tug of war. And here is every single person in Hope for Justice is pulling on this rope, and they're pulling hard together. And they're competing against the opposite team. And the opposite team is basically some unseen forces and some seen forces that are working to enslave people and capture people and keep them and rob them of their personhood and their dignity. And of course, recently we've been battling against the force of COVID and all that's meant to us, and how things have had to die down a bit and people can't travel as much. But I see this tug of war, and here we are, and here you are, you're on one side and you're pulling at this rope, and against you are the forces. These forces, unseen and seen, are pulling the rope their end, trying to drag Hope for Justice away from its mission and purpose and enslave more people. And here's Hope for Justice and other organisations pulling on this rope to actually set people free. And one of the things that happens in a tug of war is that the anchor person goes up the front. There has to be a strong person that actually digs their heels in and pulls and sets the tone for pulling. And that happened at that time to be Ben. But do you know, every single person that's joined then and since then is very much part of that holding that rope. And any member of that team that falls out, that the team recognises the difference. And sometimes in tug of war, even the anchor person falls. Even the anchor person can fall ill, can lose their footing, can make a mistake, can grip the rope in the wrong way. And what happens is the rest of the team on that rope often feel let down. They feel sad. Where's our anchor gone? Sometimes they feel angry. You shouldn't have lost your footing like that. You knew what to do. But at that moment is not the moment for the team to give up. In our work in the early years, any moment that went wrong was not the time to give up. It was the time to get up and to move forward. And whenever an anchor in a tug of war, something goes wrong, somebody else steps in. And so we're grateful, and you'll be grateful, to Tim Nelson, who's stepping into that anchor role. But what I want to just say to you, and really in a sense want to leave you with, is every single person on that rope is really, really important. Is that not right, Marion?
Absolutely.
Every single person is. We were right in our time. Ben has obviously been so right in his time. But listen, everybody, this is very, very much your time. There may be somebody watching now. There may be a few people watching now. Think, well, if it's the illustration of a tug of war, I'm one of the weakest. I can't pull very hard. I'm glad I'm at the back. I'm just kind of holding onto the rope and panting hard. Let me tell you this. If you actually were taken out of holding that rope, the whole team would feel the difference. And the other side begins to win. That other side is not going to win. Hope for Justice is going to keep pulling as it always has done. And please remember, the cause for setting slaves free and ending slavery is continuing, and it's gathering momentum. And here's the thing I really long for you to remember. One day it needed us. Now it needs you. It's been great being able to talk to you. I hope that helped a bit. I hope you heard a bit of the story. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. There may be.
I hate talking into a camera. I'd like to see you all. I'd like to see your faces. I'd like to see the work you do. I know that there's men, women and children being rescued through you and what you do. And it's absolutely brilliant. And it doesn't matter how old you are either, because I was nearly 60 when it all kicked off for me.
I was even older.
Oh, and you're very old.
Hey, thank you very much.
Old.
Just hang on
and I'm
there.
now 73, and my passion to see people set free hasn't diminished. And so I want to encourage you all and thank you for allowing us to speak to you.
Indeed. Thank you.